Krista draws first blood. Shit, Steve, you're slacking. But yeah, this is totally on. It's totally on old Joe. Totally on creepy Uncle Joe. Well, holy shit, the chat is already super lively. Let me say hey to a couple of people real quick, and then without further ado from that, we're going to get into this. We got Krista drew first blood. Good morning, Bubbles. I see Steve and Sean, Jamie. Jamie, we'll see you tomorrow, baby. Strikers, I already said Striker. Alex, good morning, sunshine. Looks like we got a big chunk of the whole crew in the house. There's Megan, there's Legion, and Cameron. Why am I here? Well, let's do this, baby. So, right off the rip, you know what? I'm gonna read the description to you. Here's the description as I've penned it. Joy Turpin's with us. Joy, hell yeah! I'm glad to see you joining the show this morning. And let's go ahead and take a moment, because this is gonna be. I'm gonna hit you with some serious hot takes, and we're gonna dig into this pretty deep. So, before I get much further, everybody hit the like button right now. I don't care what platform you're walking on. I don't care what platform you're watching on. Share with every social media outlet you can. Let's go ahead and maximize the live viewership right now. And I'm going to start I'm just going to read you the description that I wrote this morning for start. So gas prices and inflation are not the only things rising under Biden's watch. Now, as a result of Biden's obvious weakness on the world stage, the threat of war between Russia and Ukraine saw a massive escalation yesterday as Putin launched missiles at 5 Ukrainian airports. The next thing to be aware of, as feckless ice cream enthusiast and former Vice President Joe I Love Kids Sitting on My Lap Biden has talks with G7 leaders and NATO allies, is that China will absolutely take advantage of this distraction to move on Taiwan. These are the consequences of elections, kids. Make no mistake. If you voted for Biden, you are only slightly less culpable for yesterday's deaths than Putin himself. And Alex, I did see your message on Facebook yesterday. And I absolutely agree with you. That's something I think I've said a few times on this show already. If things really get off the chain in the Russia-Ukraine situation, China will use that they'll use that distraction to move on Taiwan. And I'm going to actually skip over a couple of the articles for just a moment and pull up another one that I completely forgot to pull up. There's two that we want to take a quick look at. I'm going to start with this one from the Daily Mail. So experts believe China could help Russia weather the storm of financial sanctions. That experts believe, guys, China has stated outright that it will help Russia, as in it will prop Russia up to try and deal with sanctions if the U.S. imposes sanctions on Russia as a result of this activity, which finally has happened. So another piece of news, I'm going to grab this one. This is more recent. Now, the other one is not old, but this is, 2 hours ago. China on Thursday denied backing Russia's military assault in Ukraine as it treaded a cautious line in response to a conflict that many Chinese analysts just days before were predicting wouldn't happen. At a regular briefing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying downplayed the suggestion that Beijing was supporting Moscow behind the scenes. But the fact of the matter is that Beijing had already announced that they were supporting Russia behind the scenes. Now, so let's get to the news itself real quick, and then we'll dig into some hot takes and some I told you so's. We've got this absolutely heart-wrenching image on the cover of the article from the AP. Russia attacks Ukraine, conflict reverberates around globe. We are looking at what is likely the beginning of a potential World War III situation. Now, I say that advisedly. It could be that what we're looking at is the end of the Ukraine. It could be that what we're looking at is an attempt by Russia to establish itself, to exert itself as a superpower and try and get back some of its clout and power on the world stage. Russia, in fairness, over the last decade and change, really since the fall of the wall, since the fall of communism, since the fall of the USSR. The wall's the German thing. I know. Misspoke. Russia has been in a pretty steady decline economically. As a matter of fact, I pulled another article for. I may have misplaced that one. I may have lost the other article. Damn. Anyway, Russia just days ago, just either yesterday or the day before, reports have come out that the ruble is at its lowest in history against the U.S. Inflation is a bear. Inflation is whooping our asses over here in the States, but it's dragging the ruble down bad. I think it was at under 0.87, which is pretty substantial. Steve points out, to be fair, the fall of the wall was the death knell for USSR as well. Yeah, I've got notes here. Like I was thinking, until they actually threw some frickin' missiles, I was going to talk today about how Dallas ended the USSR, how the TV show Dallas was the final nail in the coffin of the USSR. But that's going to end up being for another time now. So Russia has been economically struggling for quite a while. And it's also the case that it's been overshadowed by the advances and developments of the United States and, let's face it, China for quite some time. Legion says, not going to lie, Russia pulled off the most amazing blitzkrieg in modern history. And that is not an unreasonable take, because it looks like we've got Russian troops moving from Belarus and other places, multi-front attack, and it appears that the initial attempt was an attempt to take out Zelensky in Ukraine and then take control of the immediate Ukrainian airports so that Putin can use Ukrainian airspace to move in troops. So that's heating up big, and so let's get back into this article. Kiev, Ukraine. Russia launched. This article is from updated 25 minutes ago. Russia launched a wide-ranging attack on Ukraine on Thursday, hitting cities and bases with airstrikes or shelling as civilians piled into trains and cars. Oh, excuse me. Into trains and cars to flee. Ukraine's government said Russian tanks and troops rolled across the border in what it called a full-scale war that could rewrite the geopolitical order and whose fallout already reverberated around the globe. I want to point out that Putin annexed Crimea under Obama, made some other moves on Ukraine and his other neighbors under Obama. And then Donald Trump showed up and solved some serious problems in the Middle East with a single Moab. And Putin, here's the F-bomb, shut the fuck up. In fact, he shut up hard. And we saw a lot of clips out of Russia with Putin last year of Putin literally just laughing at Democrats. Now we have serious evidence that the whole Russia collusion narrative, we already know beyond a shadow of a doubt from the evidence that the narrative has spun that Trump and Putin were in collusion to steal an election in 2016, YouTube. I'm not talking about 2020 yet. That was absolutely false. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was orchestrated by contractors to the Clinton campaign. Nobody with any reasoning skills thinks that Clinton wasn't directly involved in at least ordering that happened. And now we have pretty solid evidence that while Clinton was conducting black propaganda and disinformation campaigns, not only against candidate Trump before the election, but following the election against sitting President Trump, she and her people, who I might add include Joe Biden and the entire DNC, with the possible exception of Tulsi Gabbard. And yes, I don't care how much they screwed Bernie Sanders, he has been a constant complicit collaborator with all of their misdeeds. And don't ever forget that. Tulsi may be the one decent holdout in there. And I tell you, it's not Manchin or Sinema. And there's Dan points out, yep, and a lot of those people got rewarded with cabinet positions. Now Biden's in. So we didn't hear anything substantial from Putin while Trump was in. But now we've got Biden. And what's Biden's immediate response? Biden's response, Biden warns of, and I'm sorry for this article, guys, the gray on black, it's hard to read looking right at it. 7 hours ago, Biden warns Russia of further consequences after Putin declaration. President Biden issued a statement on Wednesday night condemning Russia's President Vladimir Putin's announcement of a special military operation in Ukraine moments before Ukrainian cities were bombarded by Russian missile strikes. Biden promised Ukraine President Zelensky in a phone call additional U.S. support and that our allies and partners will be imposing severe sanctions on Russia, according to a White House readout. They sent missile strikes. And Biden's response is, it's not even we're going to sanction you. It's if you do anything else. It's, bad boy, bad Putin. Do it again and I'll sanction you. It's not even that. It's do it again and I'll talk to somebody about sanctioning you. Are you kidding me? I bet y'all are really missing your Buck 87 gas and Donnie Two Scoops lobbing bombs for chuckles now. This would not have happened with a Donald Trump in the White House because Putin doesn't know. He only expects that Donnie Two Scoops will start lobbing Moabs. Just, oh shit, you ran out of chocolate chip? Moab, get you some. The prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine tonight as they suffer an unprovoked and unjustified attack by Russian military forces. Okay, you gun-grabbing sack of shit. What happened to, hopes and prayers aren't going to do any good. We have to ban all the guns, even if it saves just one life. Even if it saves just one life. Even if it saves just one life. And the vaccines only had like a 0.02% rate of occurrence of pulmonary failure and deep vein thrombosis. But if it saves just one life, you can ignore all the other fucking bodies. You know people, you personally know people who voted for this. And let me qualify that. Let me help you understand that correctly. What I am saying is not that you know people who bear fault for the deaths in Ukraine because having voted for Joe Biden, this was an unforeseen consequence of that malaction. What I am saying is that we knew ahead of time and have said repeatedly on this show and many others that a probable, nay, nigh guaranteed result of Joe Biden winning the election in 2020 would be an increase in war across the globe. That it would see the rise of Chinese and Russian power, that it would see a rise in the effects of Ukrainian corruption, and an absolute surrender of American sovereignty to the infiltration of Russian and Chinese operatives. Today, let me double check this before I say it out loud, but I'm 90% sure I'm right about this. I don't think it's changed in the last several hours. Swalwell, still on the House Intelligence Committee. So if you're a Democrat, okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene said some wacky shit about the Q word and has been removed from all committees. And hey, she's done right by it. She's done some fantastic stuff with the free time that she's gotten from those committees. But that's for another time. Swalwell stuck his dick in a Chinese spy on purpose. And he's still not just in his position, he's on the House Intelligence Committee. There are very few positions in this country with greater access to highly sensitive, classified, sensitive, compartmentalized information. You're talking about a guy who's been allowed a TS SCI clearance with probably a shitload of banner colors on it. And he stuck his dick, not in crazy, in China. And he's still on the committee. Yeah. Legion makes a great point here. They've been missing Trump. The enemy has been missing him because they can't blame everything on Biden. They can't afford to. They have to pretend like it's somebody else's problem. I've seen headlines we've been seeing headlines all week. Oh, the inflation and the gas crisis and the broken supply chain and all that that's going on in America. That's all because of the tensions in Ukraine. Really? What was that because of Ukraine a year ago? Year and a half ago? I'm sorry. Did your claim just prove every possible detriment that it could have? Because let's assume that theory is correct. That means that the minute Biden was inaugurated, which is about the time that the gas prices started to soar as a direct and predictable result. And when I say direct and predictable, I mean we predicted it and it came true. Result of Biden's energy policies shutting down pipelines and drilling operations, right? You'll see the rebuttal. Oh, well, he just shut down a pipeline that wasn't even finished yet. That didn't affect anything. He shut down entire drilling operations, rescinded drilling rights on specific properties across the country. I can't wait to see Biden be forced to reinstate some more Trump policies. Because let's catch this up real quick. I've got Biden reimposes Trump's Russian pipeline sanctions that he previously canceled. Right? This is from yesterday, and hey, it's possible that this was somewhat precipitous of the attacks that Putin launched right after this happened. And just to be clear, this is not the first time that Biden's had to backtrack and say, hey, I came in and I tried to undo everything Donald Trump did, like the Remain in Mexico policy, and almost immediately he had to reinstate it because it was getting rid of the Remain in Mexico policy was an absolute disaster. And again, predictably, we knew that would happen. Nothing that has happened under Biden has caught us by surprise. This, Russia opening fire on Ukraine, this was a little surprising. But that he took action is not what's surprising. The magnitude of it, the veracity of it, that is what's surprising. So, big takeaways here. We can no longer pretend that we are surprised if Putin takes extraordinary action as long as Joe Biden's in office. The rise in tensions, the rise in conflict between the U.S., Russia, and China is it was perfectly predictable. We've already covered that, and it will continue as long as Joe Biden remains in office. Maybe after a red wave clears the House and Senate and Republicans take control in the midterms this year, and I'll cover this is a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down, but it's pertinent. It's a pertinent mention here. If you hear people talking about a red wave this year, and you're not sure that you worry that maybe America has already drifted too far left to be saved, there is some wisdom in that assumption. But I will point out, the Republicans are set to take back the House and Senate this year, not just on the extraordinarily low polling of Democrats, lowest in living memory, going into the midterms, and the abysmal, extraordinary damage that has been done by Joe Biden and the policies of the Democrat National Committee and their obvious genuflecture to their own terrorist organizations like Black Lives Matter and Planned Parenthood. Not only do they have all that going on against them, but even without all of that, we're set for a giant red wave this year just based on Democrat retirements. I think we're up to 37 announced House and Senate retirements this year. That's big. That's very big. So on retirements alone, there's no bench. The Democrats don't have a bench to reach into to replace those retirees. So it is going to be a bloodbath, and I just hope we can get rid of Warnock. God. Oh, okay. I do have to wrap this up because I got to get out to Peachtree City in a minute here, and I want to close on this. In response to this aggression from Putin and Russia, Biden is saying, yeah, Dan, I'm gonna mention that in just a minute before I go off. Biden says that he's going to consult with our allies in NATO and the G7 leadership. We don't have allies in NATO. We have parasites in NATO. NATO is a wholly anti-American organization that seeks our total destruction and emasculation. NATO hates the United States of America. And much like the Americans who hate the United States of America, NATO is wholly dependent financially on the United States and her apparent willingness to use force and violence to plunder our own stores of wealth production. NATO only exists, and by extension, every country that has socialized medicine, every Western country that has socialized medicine, even if they're not NATO members, is able to do that only because the strong right hand of the United States Army and her sister services are subsidizing that socialism. Socialism never works. It fails everywhere it has ever been tried, ever. And if you will point to me an example of capitalism failing, I guarantee you, without fail, what you will find is that the failure is not capitalism, but what rather happens is the capitalism develops something amazing, powerful, productive, and profitable, and then somebody else swings in with some socialism and a fucking gun to take a bite out of it without doing the work, without creating the wealth, without making good. NATO is a leech. Shut it the fuck down. All it would take to end NATO and the cancer that it and the New World Order and the entire globalist fucking Great Reset Klaus Schwab anomaly, all it takes to put an end to the greatest evils on this planet is for the United States to withdraw wholly from NATO and leave them to hang. Because not one NATO member nation has the military strength to support itself and defend itself from outside incursion. They exist exclusively at our expense. We are not the last bastion of freedom. We are the first footfall of liberty at the beachheads of tyranny. America is the first free country and the only free country. And for those of you, and I know probably none of the people that I'm about to address are actually watching this show, but those of you who are watching, when you deal with the people that you know, when you encounter people who are the kind that voted for a Biden, right, who support all this lefty, wokist alphabetization of every genre and every entertainment class and every school curricula. The bizarre idea that you could select people based on their color, their race, or their gender, and improve equality amongst people by actively discriminating against other people. Every time you encounter one of these people, remember this. They only want to hurt and take from you. Never a dollar is spent by the government that doesn't cost it $5 to administrate. They are becoming your enemy. And they already hate you. Now, I want to address one last thing from Dan mentioned, and I'm going to address this real quick and I'm going to close it up. Next Thursday, David Perdue will be speaking at the Rockdale Republican Party meeting. That'll be at Amici's at 1830, Thursday the 3rd. I'll be there running a camera, and I imagine it'll be me, Alex, Larry Cox, and Ken Holmes in the room. Probably Dan Burks as well. But like, I told those guys, and George Kelichek, I bet you he'll be there. I told those guys the other night at the Rockdale County Voters Association meeting. So you get the 5 or 6 of us in a room, and all together we, like, by your powers combined, we're one smart motherfucker. So, and it's gonna be a packed house. I'm gonna get there nice and early so I can have already eaten whatever it is I'm gonna order with my cold beer before the tables get filled up. Y'all be safe out there, and we'll see you tomorrow.